The scandal did not begin with a shouting match, a leaked statement, or some careful palace whisper. It began with one trunk left slightly open, one folder marked Diana Confidential, and one terrifying question that Buckingham Palace could not bury. Why were Princess Diana's private letters sitting in Tom Parker Bowles' car at the very moment King Charles was trying to prove his reign was stable? This was not just awkward. This was explosive. Because Tom Parker Bowles was not a royal historian, not a government archivist, not a trusted keeper of sensitive monarchy records. He was Camilla's son, a food writer known for restaurants, recipes, cheese, roast chicken, and glossy commentary on life outside palace walls. So when he allegedly explained that these documents had been handed to him for a book project, the excuse sounded less like an answer and more like the first crack in a much larger cover-up. The timing made everything look worse. This was the night of a grand banquet at Buckingham Palace, a glittering show of power wrapped in golden lights, chandeliers, world leaders, ambassadors, celebrities, white tablecloths, crystal glasses, and perfectly rehearsed royal smiles. King Charles had waited longer than any heir in history to take the throne, and this event was supposed to display control, dignity, unity, and command. William and Catherine arrived looking immaculate, with Catherine in a deep emerald gown catching every flash, while Charles and Camilla entered hand in hand, her silver gown shimmering beneath polite applause. Then, Tom Parker Bowles appeared in his sleek black car, sharply dressed, carefully combed, seemingly harmless. But to William, he was never harmless. He was the living symbol of Camilla's family moving deeper into the monarchy's bloodstream. Inside the banquet, everything performed like theater. The string orchestra played softly, toasts praised history and bonds between nations, and Tom Parker Bowles sat only a few seats away from Charles, laughing with ministers about food, restaurants, and ordinary life beyond palace walls. Some guests saw charm. William saw intrusion. That laughter in that hall near that throne carried a meaning only he seemed to understand. Harry was not there, and even his absence became a clue. Across the ocean, Harry had chosen distance from palace dinners and forced smiles, leaving an empty chair that silently reminded everyone of a family already fractured before the trunk was ever opened. Then came the movement that changed the entire night. After the banquet ended and guests filtered into the London darkness, Charles excused himself from Camilla and said he needed air. He walked through marble corridors into the crisp courtyard, where guards stood silent and black cars gleamed under lantern light. That was when he noticed Tom's trunk. Not wide open, not dramatically exposed, but just slightly unsealed. A small gap in a place where no gap should exist. At Buckingham Palace, every detail is controlled. Every vehicle checked. Every security breach treated as serious. So why was that trunk open? Charles stepped closer, hesitated, and lifted the lid. What he found was not careless luggage. Beneath a dark cloth were stacks of documents and sealed envelopes tied with red string, old and worn, marked with stamps from government offices. And on top sat the folder that turned a private family wound into a royal emergency, Diana Confidential. Charles staggered back, pale and breathless, before he could even understand what he was seeing. Then, William's voice cut through the courtyard. "Father, what are you doing?" In seconds, William saw the trunk, saw the folder, saw the letters, and his expression shifted from shock to fury. Not confusion, not sadness. Fury. Tom Parker Bowles' explanation only deepened the mystery. He insisted he had not stolen anything. He claimed a man he had worked with before, someone who dealt in rare documents, had offered him information about Diana, saying people would pay millions for it. Tom said he did not believe it at first, but after seeing the documents, he took them to keep them safe. Safe in a car trunk at Buckingham Palace on banquet night. That word alone became the contradiction that tore the whole story open. Because if these were truly Princess Diana's personal letters, private fears, government reports, and secret files, why were they not locked away? Why was palace security not informed? Why were they brought to the one location where discovery would create maximum damage? William understood the absurdity instantly. He pointed at the trunk and demanded to know why his mother's personal letters, government reports, and secret files were sitting in Camilla's son's car. "Don't lie to me," he said, because this was no longer about paperwork. This was about Diana's dignity, Diana's memory, and the suspicion that the same palace which had mishandled her pain in life was now mishandling her privacy in death. When Tom repeated that the files were linked to a book project, William's disbelief became cutting. "You expect us to believe this? That Diana's personal letters were handed to you for a cookbook?" That line exposed the whole collapse of logic. Charles tried to mediate, but mediation was impossible because he was trapped between blood and marriage, past and present, crown and guilt. On one side stood William, the future king, defending his mother. On the other stood Camilla's son, now attached to documents that could destroy Camilla's already fragile public image. When Charles opened one envelope with trembling hands and recognized Diana's handwriting, the situation became unbearable. These were not abstract files. These were fragments of Diana's private thoughts from her darkest days. William watched his father hesitate, and that hesitation became another wound. Then he drew the line that changed everything. "This ends now. Either we confront him tonight, or I will. But one thing is clear. Father, if you protect him again, you will lose me." That was not a son losing control. That was the heir to the throne warning the king that loyalty to Camilla's family now had a price. By dawn, the message had already moved through the palace. The trunk has been opened. Camilla woke to the news and instantly understood the danger. William had seen the letters. Tom Parker Bowles had been caught with them. Diana's shadow, the one presence Camilla could never defeat, had returned through paper, ink, and timing. When Camilla reached the courtyard and saw Charles looking years older, with Tom silent and ashamed nearby, she broke. "You fool," she told her son. "Do you know what you've done? You've destroyed everything. You've ripped open wounds that never healed. You've given William the weapon he has always wanted. And still, the biggest question refused to die. Safe from whom? Safe from William? Safe from Charles? Safe from Camilla? Nothing lined up. If Tom wanted to protect the files, the trunk was reckless. If someone wanted them exposed, the palace was the perfect stage. If someone wanted to wound Camilla, the timing was surgical. Camilla collapsed under the weight of it and whispered the line that made the scandal feel almost supernatural: "Diana has won. Even in death, she has won." And while Charles stood between the woman he had defended for decades and the son who had just threatened to walk away, William left with one promise still burning behind him. Tomorrow, Catherine would know everything. And this time, no palace silence would be strong enough to hold back the truth. William's warning did not disappear into the palace walls. It grew louder with every hour that passed. After leaving the courtyard, William made it clear that silence was no longer an option. He told Charles that Catherine would know everything by the next morning and insisted the truth could no longer be buried beneath carefully written palace statements. For 2 days, Buckingham Palace fought desperately to contain the crisis. But the lack of any official explanation only intensified public suspicion. Reporters surrounded every entrance, microphones stretched toward anyone willing to speak, while the same questions echoed across London. Was Prince William now openly fighting with King Charles? Was Camilla's son really discovered with Princess Diana's private letters? Had another royal scandal erupted inside the monarchy? Yet Buckingham Palace answered with complete silence, and that silence quickly became louder than any denial ever could have been. Then, William made the move that changed everything. Standing outside Kensington Palace with Catherine beside him, he abandoned the familiar routine of polite smiles and carefully measured remarks. His expression was cold, his shoulders rigid, and every camera recognized that something extraordinary was unfolding. Raising his hand, he quieted the crowd before delivering a statement that instantly transformed a private confrontation into an international story. William declared that he had recently discovered personal belongings belonging to his late mother, Princess Diana, hidden where they never should have been. He described them as Diana's private letters, private fears, and private heart, insisting they had neither been respected nor kept safe. He refused to reveal every detail, but vowed that Diana's dignity would never again be silenced, not by the palace and not by anyone else. Catherine quietly placed her hand on William's arm before leading him back inside. But the damage had already spread across Britain and far beyond its borders. Within an hour, television networks around the world were carrying the headline that Prince William had broken his silence over Diana's letters. Inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere collapsed into panic. Advisors rushed from room to room, drafting statements only to discard them moments later. Telephones rang continuously as officials searched for a strategy capable of stopping a crisis that was already outrunning them. Charles sat in silence while every word spoken by William echoed through the palace. He had pleaded with his son to keep the matter private, but William had chosen public accountability instead. Suddenly, this was no longer simply about one trunk or one forgotten folder. It became the latest chapter in decades of unresolved grief, suppressed anger, and family wounds hidden beneath official photographs and ceremonial appearances. William's years of restraint seemed to dissolve all at once. After standing beside Camilla at countless engagements and maintaining the image of unity expected from the future king, discovering Diana's handwriting inside Tom Parker Bowles' trunk shattered whatever remained of that discipline. In the courtyard, William confronted Charles with the deepest accusation of all, declaring that the family had never truly healed because everything changed the moment Charles chose Camilla over Diana. The speech brought neither peace nor closure. While many praised Charles's honesty, others immediately questioned Camilla's future standing within the monarchy. Inside the palace, Camilla collapsed in tears, convinced the scandal had stripped away years of effort to rebuild her public image, while Tom Parker Bowles realized the discovery of the trunk would define him regardless of his explanation. William listened quietly beside Catherine before admitting that hearing the truth spoken aloud did not erase decades of pain. Catherine reminded him that the crown was a burden rather than a prize. But the unanswered questions remained untouched. Who truly handed Tom Parker Bowles those files? Why did they surface on that particular night? What other secrets remained hidden among Diana's papers? The trunk had been closed again, yet the mystery surrounding its contents had only grown larger, leaving the fracture between father and son unresolved and the future of the monarchy hanging beneath a shadow that refused to disappear.